Hey, Dan Meyer here, and today I'm going to talk to you about Dropbox versus Google Drive. So the idea here is we're going to kind of match up the two most popular cloud storage sites or services and kind of look at the pros and cons of both and look at how I use them in my business and how my team uses them with our clients to be able to manage large amounts of information, right? As a data analyst, back in my days at Wells Fargo, I've always been one to need to access a lot of data files that are somewhere else, that aren't physically on my desktop or laptop or and even a server near me, right? So I've been using versions of cloud storage for 20 plus years. I was an early adopter of Dropbox. When it first came out, I was one of the first users. I got my team when we first launched the business back in 2011, 2012. We started using Dropbox. I use Google Drive a lot more now because most of my team prefers Google Drive and there are some benefits to it, but I still use Dropbox quite a bit. There are other places to store information. There are, of course, Apple has their own iCloud storage, and you look at other companies like Amazon, they offer cloud storage, and you can find cloud storage in any number of places. And what you're going to notice is that most of these cloud storage offerings are pretty secure. One of the knocks to cloud storage is that sometimes people feel like it's better to have all their data on a server that only they know how to access. That maybe it's safer that way. But I actually argue that when you think about from a business continuity standpoint, that if you have all your data on a physical server, somewhere in an office space, it's prone to being damaged by fire and by water leaks and by natural disasters and pandemics where people can't get to a physical location. There's a lot of factors that could limit your ability to actually get to the physical server. So you can still access it remotely, but it's got to be stored somewhere. And a lot of times that even as a backup has things on the cloud. So if you're looking to think about security, and especially cybersecurity, I would say that Google Drive and Dropbox have been doing this a while, and they do invest heavily in being secure. So you probably can't go wrong using one of those two sites. So I mentioned that I've been using cloud storage for quite a while, and it's really important in my business, of course, because I have a virtual business, right? I have hundreds of employees in multiple countries, and we all pretty much work from home or work remotely most of the time, so that we're not really tied to a physical location, and we rely on cloud storage. And even for most of my clients, most of them use cloud storage. So, and predominantly, most of them are using Google Drive, and some are using Dropbox. So I'm going to talk about basically covering a few different topics. We'll talk about the basic uses, the basic versions of both Dropbox and Google Drive, talk about some of the challenges and tips on syncing data to make sure that it's updated so that wherever you're at, you can access the most current version of the data or the images or whatever else you're storing. Talk about some of the features that separate the two that make Dropbox or Google Drive better than competitors. And then mention video conferencing a little bit, and then I'll kind of wrap it up with my final pro versus con for each one. So with Dropbox, the basic use is if you come with the basic Dropbox, you get 2 gigs of storage space, which is not a lot if you have a lot of images or a lot of big files. So a lot of people pretty quickly have to level up and start paying for Dropbox if they're running a lot of things through their business, especially, like I said, if you're very photo or video heavy in what you're trying to store and share. One thing, of course, you could do is just use the Dropbox as a go-between, where you're keeping things on a physical drive, but you occasionally move them to share them through a Dropbox is a way to do it. But if you want to store everything, you'd have to kind of pay to increase your storage to up to like 3 terabytes, I think is the most that you can get with Dropbox. It uses block syncing so that it gives you chunks of storage in blocks, and it charges you more for how you use that. So with Google Drive, basically the free version comes with 15 gigabytes, right? So a lot more for free use in Google Drive, and you can store a lot more images and videos. But again, if you do a lot of that, it's going to really fill it up. And then, of course, if you want to start increasing your storage, especially if you're sharing a lot of things across teams, you can up that to 30 terabytes, which is quite expensive, but there's more room to grow. So rule of thumb number 1 is that if you're doing things with a couple people and you're doing things where you're just trying to move documents through to share them, and it's not somewhere you want to have a repository for all your documents, and it's not something that you're going to constantly add a lot of new videos to, Dropbox will work just fine. But if you're going to do things with larger teams or bigger file sizes, especially if you're heavy into images and videos, you probably want to look at Google Drive first. When it comes to syncing, Dropbox, of course, it's your internet speed and your connectivity are big factors here. But I find that it's quicker to use Dropbox. Especially from when I'm storing things on my phone and want to move that to Dropbox, I find it faster than Google Drive. I also prefer the interface to be able to sync things in Dropbox. They've been doing this a while longer, and this is their go-to thing, right? Their product is all about having cloud storage, so they probably have it just down better than Google. Google Drive, you can download and upload entire documents, but sometimes I see a delay. And sometimes accessing documents from different devices requires me to sign into Google over and over again. It's also not exactly easy to switch between Google accounts, which I have a couple, personal and business. So it can just be a little bit more cumbersome to be able to move things into the Google Drive as far as syncing. They do have some features to allow you to auto sync stuff. So if you store things on your phone or on your laptop or a tablet, you can have them auto synced or auto backed up. They have that on both, but this may be one area I think Google Drive is a little better than Dropbox as far as auto syncing, especially if you save a lot of images and video to your phone that you want to drop. You want to put on Dropbox or Google Drive. Google Drive is, again, the better place for lots of videos and photos.